Hello and thank you for joining us on World Now. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to an immediate and an unconditional ceasefire following deadly border clashes that have killed at least 35 people and displaced over 270,000. The breakthrough came on Monday after ceasefire talks hosted by the Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim in Putrajaya. Flanked by both leaders, Anwar announced the ceasefire would take effect at midnight, July 28, describing it as a vital first step towards restoring peace in the region. U.S. and Chinese ambassadors were present at the talks, with both powers actively engaged behind the scenes. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet praised U.S. President Donald Trump for his decisive role in pushing for a resolution. Thailand's acting Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai expressed confidence that the truce will be honored in good faith. Though clashes continued on Monday morning, displaced families along the border now hope that the ceasefire will hold and they can finally return home. And Global Affairs analyst Catch Ononuju joins me to discuss the recent ceasefire between both parties. Good to have you join us. We've seen both leaders describing it as a vital step towards restoring peace after tensions for years. But what would an actual war between Thailand and Cambodia look like, seeing that Thailand has been perceived as much stronger?
Well, what you see there, if there's going to be a war, it will purely be a proxy war. And we have seen a proxy war there before when the U.S. came in and there was in Vietnam. Nobody in that Far Eastern region stands alone. And that's why it's very, very heartwarming and reassuring to see that the two great powers in that Pacific, being China and the United States, are there as guarantors for the ceasefire. But of course, you need to understand ceasefires are historical pauses. They do not end the clashes. They do not stop the tensions. They do not also kill off the emotions that actually gave rise to this crisis that has been there for a very long time. But I tell you, the most important thing I see going forward is the involvement at the very beginning of China and the United States in trying to bring peace. Because at the end of the day, these are two countries that we could call proxies for China and United States. So it makes a lot of sense that the two great powers are right now involved at the very beginning of efforts to bring peace to the Pacific Rim.
I'm picking it up from what you said, that both nations are not just standing alone. They have their allies, and they see some nations as more stronger than the other. I'm talking about China and the United States in this sense, like you also mentioned. Or is there a possibility, since this is just a ceasefire, and there is a possibility of the war continuing, that the two superpowers be drawn into a wider conflict?
Well, as I said earlier, what you're seeing are proxy skirmishes. They don't stand alone. So it makes sense that right now those two superpowers, who are the ones that guarantees anyone's misbehavior in that region, are right now involved at the very inception of efforts to bring peace in the Pacific Rim. I think if the border tensions that gave rise to this for a very long time is allowed to be settled, and the two superpowers are allowed seats on the table, I have no doubt we will have peace. But without the two superpowers, we're going nowhere.
Considering the fact that these tensions has been on for a while, we've seen that no one wants to admit ever firing the first shot. The tensions are now calm. What impact will the ceasefire have on the wider region now that there is a ceasefire?
Well, you also need to understand that these are not the only tensions that are available in that region. It's been a very long time that's been talked about. And the U.S. even predicted that their next international crisis, they suspect it to be in this particular region. And that's why you see the historical buildup of navies on Earth today is the Chinese now growing so large, it has become bigger than the U.S. Navy and more threatening in that Pacific Rim than even the U.S. Navy. No one else has invested as much as the Chinese have invested because they believe this day will come. And it's a good thing that right now that this is happening, that two of them are right now on the table because we know these two countries doing these things are proxies. And we have been praying that the Pacific Rim does not go into an implosion very quickly. Yes, people were looking at the Taiwanese Strait to be where this crisis will come from, but now you're seeing Thailand and Cambodia, and that tells you these are proxies for two great powers in the region. So it's good that those two powers are beginning to talk to themselves, and they're also involved at this initial ceasefires. Let's pray that they talk to themselves, they know how to do it, and they know what and what is at risk. We don't want a shooting war in the Pacific Rim. And the two greatest navies in the Pacific Rim, that is the US 7th Fleet, and of course, the Chinese Navy, are now involved through state coordinations to get the United States and China to please de-escalate tensions in the Pacific Rim. So for me, this is a good beginning. It's a good thing. The fact that they are talking to themselves, of course, we don't want this to be the entry point of the crisis that we've envisaged for a very long time in that particular coast. Let this not be. It shouldn't be. We're looking to Taiwan, and so far the Chinese and the Americans are playing the game well and not trying to get into any problem. So the Cambodia Thai issue, I think yes, it's inevitable. The tensions have been there through the ages, but the good thing is the United States and China are involved in the peace approach.
And they've praised the role of the United States, especially sent a statement by Thailand's acting Prime Minister expressing confidence that the truce will be honored. And they're also, praising President Trump for his decisive effort in pushing for a resolution. Let's hope this brings an end to the simmering tensions that we've seen for years. But that's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. Global Affairs Analyst Catch Ononuju, thank you for talking to us. Mali's former Prime Minister, Chogo Maga,